Alright, guys. I have to fuck it up in the beginning, right? Alright, guys. Welcome to my channel. This is Dinesh. On this date, 25th January 2025, I turned 26. So, without wasting any time, I would just get into this video. In this video, I'm going to share 10 life lessons or 10 things I wish I knew before I turned 26. So, one disclaimer I would like to give is that all the advices and the life lessons that I give in this video may be crap, may be not useful to you. You have to understand that these things are very much contextual and based on my personal experience. So, if these advices and life lessons make sense to you, take them. Otherwise, you can skip this video. So, with that, the very first thing I wish I knew before I turned 26 is having a play mindset. So, what do I mean by having a play mindset? Play mindset means doing anything with intent of not getting any outcome and getting pure joy out of whatever that you're doing. Getting so much pleasure through the journey that you don't even worry about the outcome and the destination. There are certain examples of play mindset. You must have seen rappers just freestyling on the beat. You must have seen improv comedians just flow through the crowd and make comedy out of nothing. You must have seen Brazilian footballers playing football. That is play mindset, where you are just flowing through the task. You are just absolutely present in that moment and not following any rules. You're just doing things just because you get pleasure out of it and not for any certain outcome. Now, how does having a play mindset help you? Actually, not having a play mindset doesn't harm you in any way, but I just believe that if you don't have that play mindset, you're not exploring the full potential of your personality. So let's take an example. You're into a 9 to 5 job, you have responsibilities, and you get all serious in life because everything that you do is now focused to get an outcome. But then you lose the child inside you because now you don't do anything just because you get joy out of it. Now, this monotony and seriousness deprives you from all the joy that you can get by having this play mindset. Now, how do you get this play mindset? Personally, what I did was I enrolled for a Garba class. You must have seen my video. If I haven't seen it, I'll just put the link in the description. So once I started playing Garba, this is something which I wasn't serious about, and I wasn't thinking about get going pro in Garba or something like that. So somewhere where I don't care about the outcome, and then during Navratri when I went to play Garba on the ground and I've met new people and I was just vibing on the music, that's when I truly understood what the play mindset is. And once you imbibe this play mindset in your life and you start to take joy in the things that you're doing, or maybe you enroll yourself into things that give you joy, that play mindset will also seep into the things that you're serious about. Maybe now your personality would be such that whatever that you're serious about, you do it with such a ease that you also thrive and improve in the skills that you are seriously building. That's all I want to say about the play mindset. Now, the second life lesson or advice that I think I should have known before I turned 26 is, I forgot. Let me check. It is more is not always better. Now, through social media and the people around us, a message that is propagated generally is that the more effort that you put in something, the more output you'll get out of it, right? But over time, I realize it's not quite true for a lot of things. Yes, for getting success, you have to put in efforts. But right from learning new skills or to build muscle in the gym or to maintain a relationship, everything, there is a right amount of effort that you will put that will give you maximum amount of results rather than just blindly putting more efforts, because there is a law of diminishing returns that gets applied to most of the things. In the gym, if you're just constantly pushing weights and you're not recovering well, you won't be able to build a lot of muscles if you are not resting, to put it in layman terms. Similarly, even in relationships, if you see, if a person needs more space and you go with this concept that I'll just put in more effort, you'll actually end up losing that person because that's the time you have to back off and not give efforts. So sometimes in life, more efforts does not mean more results. Again, it can be a crap advice for your context. Maybe you need more effort, but it's something that I realized now, and I think I should have realized way before 26. But it's never too late. With that, let's just move on to our third lesson, which is first impression is not the last impression. Yes, it sounds pretty contrary, right? Now, when I say this, I don't mean that you should be shabby looking. You like whenever you're going for a date, whenever you're going for an interview, presentation, whatever that you're presenting yourself, don't go shabby and quote me that, Dinesh said first impression is not the last impression. That is true in certain case. But what I mean is that when we go with this thought that first impression is last impression, we invite unnecessary anxiety in our mind to do everything perfectly. Let's take an example of a first date. You want your jokes to land on point. You want your hair to be on point. You want the venue, the climate, everything on point just because the first impression is last impression. But that isn't the case. If you release yourself of this unnecessary pressure and understand that other humans also understand that you are a human being, and it's not that everything will go perfectly. You can make mistakes and then improve on that mistakes. You can talk about things and then figure things out and maybe rectify your mistakes. You may make a bad impression and then maybe figure out that, these things were wrong. So sometimes first impression is not the last impression. I mean, of course, this may not apply in all situations, but I mean it that just release yourself the anxiety of this perfect first impression. Even if you don't make that perfect first impression, you can cover it up later. That's what I mean. Now, that brings us to the fourth life lesson, which I think I should have learned way, way before I turned 26, and that is don't overshare. So, what I mean is that not everybody needs to know everything about you. A very special person in my life, someone very dear to me, has given me this analogy. Your life is like a castle, and not everyone needs to know all the hidden pathways, all the secret rooms, all the personal rooms from that castle, right? They might stay in the guest room, and maybe they get so close that they reach the point where you show the whole castle, but they don't need to know the whole castle right from the get go. So by that I mean that when you share things to other person may not have the emotional bandwidth to receive all that you're sharing. Hence, sometimes when you overshare things, you get this feeling of emptiness inside you because the other person that you just shared all that deep emotional shit with didn't have the emotional bandwidth to receive that. And that just sometimes overwhelms people with a lot of emotional burden that you are carrying. And secondly, it also makes you feel empty and not validated inside because you just made yourself vulnerable and there was no proper reciprocation of feelings from other side. So hence don't overshare. It's pretty simple, right? Only share things when the other person has earned the right to know that fact about you. That was well articulated, unexpected by me. With that, we'll move to another life lesson. Now, this advice, this fifth life lesson, will actually contradict this particular video itself. It says that best advice doesn't exist. But it makes sense because if you watch different podcasts, if you consume social media, if you consume intellectual content, you will get contradictory advice everywhere. There are people who will say never give up, but there are people who also say that sometimes it's wise to just give up and move on in your life. So there are people who would say just do a job, it's stable. But then there are people who would say get out of your comfort zone and start a business. Yeah, and then there are people who would say that you should step out of your comfort zone. And then there are people who would say stay comfortable in your own skin. And all these advices are so contradictory and they might not even be applicable to your life. Just like many of the advices that I'm giving right now won't be applicable to you because you are the only person who knows all the details, parameters, and nuances, complete context of your life. Nobody else knows it. And hence, anybody from outside giving you advice won't be the best advice ever. The sixth life lesson or sixth advice, which I should have known before the age 26, is be honest with yourself at least. What do I mean by this? you have decided to do something, maybe start a gym or maybe a new business or a YouTube channel, whatever that pursuit is, and you bullshit other people that you have this problem, this is coming in between, that is delaying. But you you know yourself that you're lying, and maybe you're procrastinating certain things. And this happens when you have not developed that bond with yourself, and you keep lying to yourself, and that is even more dangerous. And hence the advice is be honest with yourself at least. So with that, let's move on to the seventh advice. And the seventh advice is that you should be having systems in place so that you live life much more effortlessly. So this is something that I have told before also on this channel when I made that video about atomic habits, habit building, that how systems and habits are important. You don't waste a lot of your willpower and conscious effort. Pew. So yeah, that has been the constant theme. And if you have read the book Atomic Habits, I don't even have to elaborate this particular point that you need habits. That's because habits create a lot of freedom that you don't even realize. Just imagine if you have to use your cognitive energy for every simple thing like brushing your teeth, like climbing down the staircase, climbing up the staircase, which will happen if you damage your brain by not sleeping. But I don't wish that happened to you. But yeah, that being said, that habits are really, really important. Number 8, this life lesson is very, very important. I wish I knew this before I turned 26. Being social is absolutely essential. So back when I was 2021, I thought that I can just do everything in isolation and social life is just for having fun and that won't contribute in your life in general. But that isn't the case. If you aren't being social, if you don't meet people, if you don't have friends who you can talk to, that creates a lot of problems because then you have to deal with all the anxiety, all the problems, troubles by yourself, and that makes it whole lot more difficult. And social life is not just important for sharing your problems, it is also important in building a good network so that you can propel your career further. I used to think that your career is built in isolation, but no. The people that you know, the circle that you're in actually matters when you're building your career. Maybe you land up in a good job if you have a good connection with some manager. Right, I don't know how the corporate works, never worked in a corporate. But that being said, you knowing correct people can open up a lot of opportunities, even career wise. And if even if you leave the career part, having just good people around you who support you in your tough time is absolutely essential for your mental health. Because just imagine if your brain, your system keeps crashing because of all the worries that you have, then you keep on binge eating, keep procrastinating certain things. Maybe you also rely on corn to relieve your stress, and you just end up into bad loop of negative habits. So the ninth life lesson is, if you have skills, your minor mistakes will be excused. So what do I mean by this? If you are a person of a value or person of a very, very high skill level, small minor mistakes like not being on time and not being punctual will be excused for you just because you have so much value. That doesn't mean that I'm telling you not to be punctual, but I'm just saying that if you have a lot of skills and value, certain mistakes are excused for you. Like if you say anyone who is doing a job well, basically a very good AI engineer, a software engineer, if that person is doing the job well, a doctor, a physiotherapist, anyone, a lot of minor mistakes will be excused. In a short term that might cause a problem, but in long term, if that person is providing you with the value, you will end up excusing all the minor mistakes. Maybe that person is rude, maybe that person is not socially calibrated, or whatever that is. World tells you that you have to do all these small things. 90% is the value and the skill that you provide to this world, right? And the world will excuse all the other minor, smaller, intricate mistakes that you make. And I think I should move on to the last and the 10th life lesson, which is Only thing that matters in the end is your choice. This particular advice can be broken down into short term and into long term as well. In short term, in your day to day life, your day can be good or bad based on the moment to moment choices that you make. Whether you decide to take your phone in the morning or whether you decide to do some exercise in the morning, whether you decide to have that french fries or whether you decide to have a protein shake, your choices in the short term will make or break your day. Even in long term, what matters is your choice right now. What do I mean by that? There will be certain scenarios in your life where you will be pressurized to take certain decision, whether to follow your passion or to take a stable job, whether to get into a relationship or not. Any choice that you make won't be right or wrong. That will just come with its own bag of positives and negatives. So the ending point would be that make the choice that you want to make, accept the consequences of that choice, and even if shit goes south, you will be able to come out of it. That's the video, guys. Wish me happy birthday in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.